Welcome back to the channel, folks. I'm Vulkan, and I thought I would check in on New World today. So right now, I'm sort of just waiting for the upcoming releases. Things like Tower of Fantasy, Dark Tide, Torchlight Infinite. And because I had some downtime, I figured I'd pop back into New World and see what almost a year of updates did for the game. But before we get into that, I wanted to tell you about today's video sponsor, and that is Aura. Aura is an app that helps protect my data from hackers, scammers, and spammers, which is really important to me since I have actually been a victim of identity theft in the past, and it really sucked. It was not fun. I'd do so many things. So the big question is, what are you doing to protect yourself? Now, if the answer is nothing, then I would highly recommend that you try out Aura. So here's how it works. So Aura will continuously monitor the dark web looking for your emails, your passwords, social security numbers, and then it's going to send alerts fast to your phone or email when they find anything, because that's the first thing, is understanding if that stuff's out there, you need to go change it. Now, Aura will also give you near real-time alerts on suspicious credit inquiries, like if someone was trying to open a loan or a credit card in your name, they'll let you know about that stuff too. Now, they automatically send requests on your behalf to data brokers to remove your information, which helps reduce the amount of spam and robocalls that you receive. Then on top of all of that, their VPN service also allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and your personal information safe and encrypted. Then they also have an antivirus software that will block more malware and viruses before they infect your devices. And the thing is, guys, like I mentioned earlier, I was a victim of identity theft, and it's such a common thing nowadays. And there's a statistic out there that there's a new victim every 14 seconds, and it can cost them over $1,000, which is just crazy to think about. So you want to make sure to protect your family and yourself, and you can do that over at aura.com. I've placed a link in the description below. That way it makes it nice and easy for you guys to go check out. And if you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial with my link, so you can see for yourself how many times Aura finds you or your family members' personal info out on the dark web. So guys, like I said, there's a link in the description below. Check that out. But let's go ahead and get back to the video. So when I first left New World back in December of last year, it really felt like a game that needed tons of work once you hit level 60. It wasn't friendly towards solo players. There was a lack of direction in like clear paths to upgrade your gear. Once you reach 200 in crafting, that skill really didn't reward you for any further investment. So you hit 200 and it's like, okay, what do I do now? Do I still want to work on mining? Not really. Do I still want to work on furnishing? No. I mean, I'll make some stuff, but there really wasn't a incentive to keep doing that. And there were just so many glaring holes that I ended up just putting it up on a shelf and said, you know what, I'll come back when they make some pretty big updates. Well, now sort of seems like a good time to check in. Like I said, there's a downtime between releases. 2022's kind of been rough on releases, so now's really kind of a good time. Now, they just kicked off their Summer Medley Fair event that added quite a bit to the apparently already long list of updates since I left. Now, most notably in this update is that they added in musical instruments. So if you want to get your bard on, now is the time. You can jump in, shred the guitar, shred the mandolin, whatever you want to play. There's 5 instruments to collect, 31 songs to discover, learn, and master, and there's multiple difficulties, which plays into the next thing, right? This isn't just a song that you can click on, it goes, you play it, it's a little loading bar. It's not what happens. It's actually a rhythm game. So if you're good at Guitar Hero, then you can get on there and just shred your WSAD keys and just go out and crush some music. And this should feel pretty at home to those of you who really like these type of things. Each song also gives you buffs to anyone that you're nearby, which is great. So these buffs range from increasing your gathering speed, your experience gain, your gathering luck, and quite a few more. And see, I really like things like this. Like, this is just, it's fun. It's not just a performance mode where you just turn it on and you're kind of just playing and it's whatever. Instead, it gives you something tangible. It gives you something beneficial, right? I can play a song, increase my chance at getting rare materials, reduce my encumbrance, and then I can go out and explore and do what I want to do. These are perks, and I dig it. Now, in terms of your instruments, you're going to start off with basic green ones, right? Just like everything else in the world, you have to start off with nothing and work your way up to something. You can craft all the way up to legendary through furnishing, and the higher the rarity, the better the stats that'll come on these instruments. And these are things like giving you perfect on your first 3 notes, which is super helpful. So that's one that I got on one of my green ones, and it's great. So in addition to the musical instruments, right, because that's not the only thing they added in this update, they also tossed in a brand new expedition called Barnacles and Black Powder. Now this is going to send players into battle against Admiral Black Powder and his dastardly crew. You can start this one down in Cutlass Keys. Now this does not unlock until about a week from now, but still it gives players something to look forward to. Now, this content does look really interesting, and I'm definitely not geared for it, but it's going to be something cool to kind of come back, check out, maybe even work towards at some point in time, because I really like the whole Davy Jones kind of theme they're going for here. So one other thing, for those that have been out of the loop for a while, expeditions also have mutators, which are modifiers for each dungeon. So this is going to make life much harder on players, but it's going to give rewards if you manage to beat the timer and the boss. These are good rewards. So I tried doing this with a Mutator 2 run on Dynasty Shipyards back when they very first launched, and it was rough. You really do need a good build, a good group, and some strong patience to do these and to do them well. But these aren't the only things they added to the game with this update. In fact, they removed quite a bit of barriers that I had an issue with. So for instance, expeditions no longer require tuning orbs. Instead, they placed a cap on the amount of times you can run it per day and per week. So if you had any tuning orbs in your inventory, these have instead been cashed out and replaced with a cache containing items found from the expedition, which is great. So for a lot of people, it was an upgrade. Now, this is one of the better moves that I've seen from AGS recently. I really liked the notion of tuning orbs. I mean, I understood their importance to gating content from players. It was something to work towards. But the issue I ran into was the cooldowns and the materials needed to craft them. Now, this all kind of mixed together to create a more frustrating experience than an exciting one. So removing these should help get more players into endgame content and hopefully create a better experience all around for new folks and for the veterans. But the one thing that I think will really help is that they added in a group finder. Now, this is going to help players find groups rather than spamming chat. You can find these at the beginning of every expedition. It's a small but really nice improvement, and it's something that I think this game has needed for a very long time. Now, another update they did to help kind of bring some more value to elite chests in the world is they rebalanced loot and gold coins. So they decided to pull about 50% of the coin typically earned from expedition bosses and instead spread it out to coin drops from elite chests and corrupted breach bonuses. So twice a day you can go on your elite chest runs. You can loot 2 elite chests for a bag of 500 gold coins. Now, I'm not saying that you're capped and you can't loot elite chests anymore. What I'm saying is you loot 2 of them a day and you're going to get a big bag of coins. Beyond that, you're going to get the old, kind of drops you used to get, right? Where you got loot and some materials and some coin and all that stuff. So it's really just the first 2 you open are going to give you a big bonus in terms of coins. Now, in addition to the coins, they also introduced a new resource called Materia that can be used to craft specific loot drops from expeditions. Now, this can be earned from the main boss of the expedition or by salvaging expedition gear. So again, this helped reduce some of the RNG that came with trying to farm specific weapons, or hell, I mean, even just an upgrade from an expedition from back when I played. It was tough to even get an upgrade at that point. So being able to go through and craft something specific using this materia, I haven't done it yet, but really I'm just kind of reading off of what the patch notes say. This is something that I think should help quite a bit, but it all comes down to execution. Now, in addition to changing how you acquire loot, they also changed how perks and loot quality work. So they decided to go through and buff a bunch of skill-specific perks to be more powerful, which is great because, again, perks were not exactly exciting, and the perks that affected skills weren't powerful enough, right? They still didn't offset something like a Keen or, a Vorpal. It wasn't something that would offset just a basic stat boost. So being able to go through and maybe have some of these skill-specific perks be more powerful and be actually enticing, that might kind of sway people a little bit when it comes to builds. And they also tweaked calculations so that weapons will drop with better perk combinations, which is nice. So I can't tell you how many times that a piece of gear dropped and I would just scrap it because the perks were awful or they didn't pair well at all. And it felt like a complete waste of a drop. So that's one thing that I'm really glad they went through and did. This is something that, like, I know it's a completely different genre, completely different game or whatever, but like Anthem, right? That was something that was terrible. You get an assault rifle that would drop and it would have like harvesting chance on it. And why does my assault rifle need harvesting chance? Quick answer, it doesn't. So that's the thing, right? Having perks that matter is part of the process of having RNG perks. So I'm really glad they went through, relooked at this. Now again, You know, since this update just came out, we're not sure exactly if this is going to have a huge effect or if these calculations are done correctly, who knows. But this, again, something that I'm really glad that they looked at and they're changing. So loot quality also received an adjustment, so 60 players will see more epic and rare loot instead of greens so often. This was a huge reason of why I left originally. At level 60, you're going and you're doing elite chest runs. You're fighting bosses like Scorched Mines, right? You're doing all of these things out in the world, away from the tuning orb requirements, away from all these things, because you're trying to just go out and just get upgrades, right? They made it so difficult to upgrade your character. So as I went through and I would do these runs, I would end up with more greens than blues or purples at level 60. Now I get it, right? If you're level 30, if you're like in the middle of the game, then greens and blues make sense. But if you're at level 60, you shouldn't see greens as often as you saw greens in New World. And the thing is, greens are never going to be great. They're going to automatically be salvaged almost every single time. So it just felt like that run was a complete waste of time, other than the couple pieces that were actually useful or could potentially be useful. So again, I'm really glad they changed this. I need to see how it works, but for now, the idea is there. Hopefully it makes a difference, but we'll have to wait and see. But thing is, so that's not all, right? They went through, they made all these adjustments, but they also touched on the experience required to level up trade skills. This is another thing that I was very, very happy for. You know, when I was covering New World primarily, one of the biggest things that I heard from people often was the XP requirement for leveling up crafting and leveling up trade skills, right? Things like fishing, logging. You would go and you'd cut down so many damn trees and you'd be stuck cutting down mature trees forever or young trees forever. And it didn't feel like you were progressing, right? RuneScape is nice because you have so many different types of trees that even though you weren't going super quick, you still felt like you were progressing because you would switch to a different type of tree. Here, you were doing young trees and then mature trees, and then finally you would go up to the next one. I can't remember what it's called, magic trees or something, but you'd go there. And so it took forever. So anyway, logging and fishing experience, the amount that's required to level those up was dramatically reduced. So you're going to level those much, much faster. Fishing especially. Fishing was brutal to level. Now, in terms of your refinement skills, these were reduced by between 10 and 20% each, and they removed the various tiers of reagents. So you now just have one tier of like tannin, for example. You don't have 5 tiers of tannin. You don't have 5 tiers of sand flux. They're all set to 5, and that is that. You're done. So if you have anything that's outside of tier 5, then they're going to be junk and they need to be salvaged. So overall, I mean, these are great changes, and I think they're going to end up making players really happy. There's a nice balance of new content with fixes to existing stuff. And with that being said, there are still big holes that I need to let you all know about. So while there have been some great strides to fix things and create a better experience, AGS definitely is not done yet. They still need to improve the leveling experience, because right now you're still asked to perform town boards to level up between main quests. And while they did a better job of improving visibility of side quests to help ease this whole XP burden, it's still not as smooth as I would like it, especially since most players are now at endgame. And they're still missing some extra oomph in terms of endgame activities. They do have Outpost Rush in the new arena, but as it stands, queue times are incredibly long and there just aren't many people doing these modes. People are more often doing expeditions or leveling up their trade skills or trying to play the auction house. These are all things that people are doing instead of actually doing the end game stuff. So guys, that is it. That's the update, right? That is everything for New World in terms of the Summer Medley Fair event, things that have been changed, things that I've noticed. Now, after I play some more and kind of experience all of the changes from the whole year, I might put a video together to talk about it. But for now, if any of these changes sound great, go ahead, jump in. I think you'll enjoy it. Otherwise, you might want to wait until they launch their first DLC with Brimstone Sands sometime in the future to jump back in and see what New World is all about. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.